How could a Roman legionnaire sleep for just a few hours on the bare ground and be ready in the morning for a march of many kilometers in a bloody battle? You cannot even imagine what a complex and well-thought-out system lay behind the ordinary rest of an ancient soldier. Discipline in the Roman army applied not only to combat, but also to every minute of nighttime rest. Every soldier knew that the success of the emperor's entire military campaign depended on the quality of his sleep. Watch the video to the end, and you will learn how an ordinary cloak and shield replaced a soldier's entire bedroom. We will take a step-by-step look at how legionnaires set up their beds and protected themselves from the cold ground. You will understand why Roman equipment was considered the most advanced and versatile of its time. This story will make you look at the endurance of the great conquerors of the past in a new light. To begin with, I will reveal a secret that changes everything in our understanding of Roman logistics. The basis of a legionnaire's comfort on a campaign was a heavy tent made of many pieces of tan leather. These tents were called papilio because of their specific shape when unfolded. Each group of 8 people was assigned one such mobile structure. Subscribe to the channel to learn more unique facts about antiquity. Leather was chosen for a reason, as it was excellent at retaining heat inside the tent. It did not let water through, even during the longest rains in the northern forests. The Romans preferred leather to fabric because it was much more durable on campaigns. The weight of such equipment when wet was truly enormous for the porters. Inside the tent, the space was used as efficiently and rationally as possible. Soldiers slept in cramped conditions, warming each other with their own body heat on cold nights. The floor was usually covered with dry straw or tree branches to insulate it from dampness. Each legionnaire knew his strictly defined place inside the small house. Weapons and armor were stored in a specific way, always remaining within reach of their owner. During the day, the tent floors were rolled up for mandatory ventilation and cleanliness. This organization of daily life allowed the legion to feel protected in enemy territory. The Roman army was a master at creating comfort even in the wildest places. The process of setting up a tent took only a few minutes thanks to years of practice. Each soldier in the contubernium had a specific task when setting up camp. Some set up wooden supports while others stretched heavy leather sheets. The coordination of actions allowed the army to quickly rest after a march. Leather tents required regular maintenance to preserve their protective properties. Soldiers rubbed the material with grease to keep it supple and prevent it from cracking. If the leather tore, it was immediately sewn up with strong, waxed thread. Careful treatment of property was the key to survival in harsh winter campaigns. In the summer heat, it could become too stuffy and hot inside such shelters. Then the soldiers lifted the edges of the leather, allowing fresh air to flow freely. At night, the tent was closed as tightly as possible to protect against insects. These simple measures helped to preserve the soldiers' strength throughout the long months. The tents also served as a place to store common supplies of food and tools. In the center, there was usually a small cauldron for cooking evening porridge. All daily life was organized around this small cell of 8 loyal comrades. Mutual trust began right here in the cramped space of the leather house. Roman engineers constantly improved the design of tents for different climatic conditions. For Eastern campaigns, they used lighter materials that could reflect the sun's rays. In Gaul, however, protection from constant dampness and strong winds remained a priority. The versatility of Roman equipment was unattainable for most of their enemies. We would be very interested to hear your opinion on this matter. What do you think about the harsh living conditions of professional soldiers? Write about it in the comments and share your personal opinion. Want to know the main secret of personal comfort for every Roman soldier on a campaign? The main item in his bag was a heavy cloak known as a sagum. This cloak was made of very dense and coarse wool of high quality. In campaign conditions, it served the soldier as both clothing and a soft mattress. The sagum was a simple rectangular piece of fabric that fastened on the shoulder with a special metal clasp. Despite its simplicity, this item of clothing was quite expensive and was issued to soldiers for long-term use. Its size allowed it to completely wrap the body of an adult man in 2 layers. Military quartermasters strictly ensured that the wool was thick enough to protect against moisture. When wet, natural wool releases a small amount of heat due to a chemical reaction with water. The Romans did not know the physics of this process, but they saw the result in practice. While barbarians in thin skins shivered from the cold, a legionnaire in his saguma could remain cheerful. It was this piece of clothing that allowed the Roman army to make transitions in places that were considered impassable. If a soldier had to sleep under the open sky, the cloak became his main salvation. The legionnaire wrapped himself completely in it, trying to block the cold air. Often, branches were placed under the cloak to create a layer between the soldier and the ground. The fabric was so dense that it even protected against frost. Losing or damaging a cloak in the harsh climate of Britain or Germany was tantamount to a death sentence. If the wool became clogged with dirt, it would no longer breathe or keep the wearer warm, so cleanliness was a matter of survival. Soldiers spent hours of their free time beating the dust out of the heavy fabric. A good cloak often served a veteran throughout his long 25 years of service. The wool for cloaks was specially treated with natural fats to repel moisture. Even in heavy rain, such clothing took a long time to get wet. Soldiers preferred dark colors for the fabric, as dirt was less visible on them. This item of clothing remained virtually unchanged for many centuries. The fabric was impregnated with lanolin, which is naturally found in sheep's wool. This made the surface of the cloak slippery for water droplets, which simply rolled off. Even if the outer layer got wet, the inside remained dry and comfortable for a long time. Roman fabric processing technologies were far ahead of their time and those of neighboring peoples. In winter, legionnaires could wear 2 cloaks at the same time for extra insulation. This created a reliable cocoon that could withstand even severe frosts. The fabric was so durable that it was difficult to tear even with a sharp object. The durability of the saguma allowed it to be used for several years of active service. The multiple layers helped soldiers endure nights in the snow-covered forests of Gaul. An air cushion formed between the 2 layers of thick wool, which worked better than any fur. With this equipment, legionnaires could wait for dawn without the risk of catching a serious cold. The strength of the fabric also protected the soldier's skin from accidental scratches and small branches in the dense forest. During long marches, the cloak was rolled up tightly and attached to the equipment. It was always within easy reach in case of sudden weather changes. The Romans understood that colds could put more people out of action than arrows. Therefore, warm clothing was considered as much a weapon as a sharp sword. In a sudden attack, a rolled-up cloak could even serve as additional protection for the shoulder or neck. It absorbed the energy of the blow and prevented light projectile weapons from inflicting deep wounds. The ability to roll up a sagum correctly and compactly was one of the first skills taught to recruits. The speed with which a soldier could retrieve and put on his cloak often determined his comfort for the rest of the day. If necessary, 2 cloaks could be tied together to create a temporary awning from the sun or rain. At river crossings, valuable items could be wrapped in it to keep them from getting wet. The versatility of this item made it indispensable in conditions of complete isolation from supply bases. The sagum was a legionnaire's faithful companion from the sands of the east to the misty islands of Britain. Do you think modern clothing could withstand such stresses in the wild? Write down what item of clothing you would take with you on an ancient expedition. Many modern synthetic materials tear easily and melt over a simple campfire. The woolen cloak of an ancient warrior, on the other hand, was ready for the harshest trials for years. Think about whether there is an item in your wardrobe that you could rely on as much as a Roman relied on his sagum. Leave your thoughts in the comments below this video. You definitely haven't heard about this unique secret in regular school textbooks. The Roman shield was not only a means of protection in bloody battle. During sleep, soldiers often used it as an improvised bed or screen. Like this video if you are surprised by the ingenuity of ancient people. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new topics about great empires. The scudum had a specific curved shape that allowed soldiers to partially hide under it. The wooden base of the shield served as a reliable barrier against moisture coming from the ground. Legionnaires placed it with the convex side up, creating a dry space for their heads. This was especially important during very short stops on the march. The shields of sleeping soldiers were always arranged according to strict and precise military regulations. They were placed in a row in front of the entrance, forming an additional physical barrier. In the event of a sudden attack, a legionnaire could find his shield in a fraction of a second. The proximity of weapons gave the warrior the necessary peace of mind for deep and sound sleep. Small personal items belonging to the owner, were often attached to the inside of the shield. A small supply of biscuits or important tools could be stored there. This functionality made the shield the most valuable item in a soldier's personal arsenal. Soldiers treated them with great respect and always kept them clean. The leather covering of the shield also required regular care and lubrication with grease. This prevented the wood from getting wet and increased the service life of the product. If the shield got wet, it became too heavy to maneuver effectively. Therefore, soldiers tried to cover it with a cloak during heavy rain. In winter, the shield could serve as additional protection from the icy wind. Soldiers would place it on the windward side, creating a small area of relative comfort. This helped to retain body heat and avoid dangerous hypothermia. These little tricks saved the lives of thousands of ordinary legionnaires in the wildlands. Roman commanders encouraged such use of equipment for everyday purposes. They understood that a resourceful soldier is much more effective in difficult conditions. Every piece of equipment had to justify its weight on a campaign. The shield coped with this task 100%. Sometimes shields were used to collect rainwater in emergency situations. Their concave shape allowed them to accumulate a little moisture to quench severe thirst. In conditions of siege or desert, this could be a decisive factor. Legionnaires were trained to get the most out of their limited inventory. The drawings on the shields helped sleeping soldiers quickly find their own equipment. Each group had its own unique signs and color codes. In the confusion of a night alarm, this saved precious seconds for formation. Order and clear marking were the basis of Roman discipline. The Roman shield became a symbol of reliability and protection for many centuries. Its design was the pinnacle of engineering at the time. Even in sleep, it continued to serve its owner faithfully. What you are about to learn will change your perception of ancient campfires. The Romans never lit fires haphazardly or simply for pleasure. Within the camp, there were strict rules for the placement of cooking fires. The fire was the center of life for each small group of 8 loyal comrades. Each such unit was called a contubernarium, and its members lived in the same tent. For them, the fire was not just a source of heat, but also a gathering place for the whole small family. Here, duties for the next day were assigned, and the latest news from home was shared. The location for the hearth was chosen with centimeter precision so that the smoke would not bother the neighbors or damage valuable property. The fire provided the necessary warmth and allowed clothes to be dried before bedtime. Around it, soldiers discussed orders and maintained their morale. They tried to preserve the heat from the coals until morning under a layer of ash. This allowed them to quickly rekindle the flame at dawn without unnecessary fuss. Constant dampness during campaigns was the main enemy of a legionnaire's health. Woolen tunics and cloaks often got wet in the rain or from morning dew. The ability to dry their clothes by the fire saved soldiers from serious lung and joint diseases. Knowing how to handle coals properly helped save precious time during morning assemblies. The discipline of warmth meant that the fire should not be too bright. The Romans feared that their camp would be exposed to numerous enemy scouts. At night, special soldiers on duty monitored the condition of the fires. They added wood in time and ensured the safety of the leather tents. Too large a flame could be an excellent landmark for enemy cavalry or archers. Therefore, they tried to make the fires small but very hot. The fire guard was responsible for ensuring that sparks did not fly onto the tents made of calfskin. The slightest fire in a dense camp could lead to a major disaster and the loss of all equipment. If the legion was in a dangerous area, lighting fires was prohibited altogether. In such cases, soldiers relied only on the warmth of their woolen cloaks. The ability to do without fire was considered a sign of high professionalism and endurance. The Roman army was a master of resource conservation in all combat conditions. At such times, soldiers had to eat pre-prepared rusks and cold-dried meat. The lack of hot food had a strong impact on morale, but discipline came first. Legionnaires understood that their safety was more important than the fleeting comfort of a warm hearth. A night of complete darkness and silence was commonplace for soldiers on the border of the empire. Firewood for the camp was gathered in advance during the day's march or while at rest. Each unit had its own quota for collecting brushwood for the kitchen. The use of green wood was discouraged because it produced thick, acrid smoke. The soldiers knew which types of trees burned longer and produced more heat. Usually the youngest soldiers, or those not on guard duty, were responsible for gathering fuel. They collected only dry branches so that the fire would be clean and produce as little soot as possible. Poorly prepared firewood could cause the entire centuria to cough and reveal the location of the unit for many kilometers. The quality of the fuel directly affected the secrecy and comfort of the entire unit. The hearths were usually dug into the ground to protect them from sudden gusts of wind. This also helped to better concentrate the heat under the pot with porridge. After use, the fire pit was carefully covered with earth to maintain order. The Romans left no traces behind that could help the enemy. Such a fire pit worked like a small oven, maintaining a high temperature for a long time. This allowed food to be cooked much faster and with less wood. When the legion moved on, the ashes and charcoal remains were buried so deep that they could not be found. Concealing traces of their camp was a mandatory rule for experienced commanders. Culinary traditions were also closely linked to the discipline of using fire. Grain was ground by hand and cooked into thick porridge over a low flame. Each soldier knew his turn to stand guard over the pot during rest periods. Working together at the hearth brought people of different nationalities in the legion closer together. Cooking required patience, as the grain was hard and needed to be cooked for a long time. Soldiers often added dried vegetables or pieces of bacon to the pot for extra flavor. While one stirred the porridge, others cleaned their weapons or repaired their worn-out shoes. This daily ritual turned a group of random people into a well-coordinated fighting team. The smoke from the fires also repelled some insects in marshy areas. This made the soldiers' sleep a little more peaceful and less irritating. Although the smoke sometimes made it difficult to breathe, its benefits outweighed the minor inconveniences. The Romans used the forces of nature to their advantage wherever possible. Mosquitoes and gnats were a real curse for the army during the hot summer months. The acrid smoke from coniferous branches helped create a protective curtain around the resting place. Soldiers were willing to endure tears in their eyes just to get rid of the endless bites. Even such trifles were taken into account by Roman medics when setting up temporary camps. How would you keep warm if you didn't have modern heaters? Roman military camps were always built according to the same strict plan. Each centuria and each manipulus had its own permanent place. This gave soldiers a sense of stability, even in the wildest regions. Legionnaires knew exactly where to run in the dark when they heard the alarm. The streets of the camp were always straight and wide enough for passage. This ensured excellent ventilation and quick access to any point. The distance between tents was calculated to reduce the risk of forest fires. Such predictability allowed soldiers to fall asleep much faster and more soundly. The central part of the camp was the quietest and most secure area. It housed the tents of senior officers and the headquarters of the entire legion. Ordinary soldiers slept closer to the outer ramparts and deep moats. They formed a living shield for their high command and banners. There was always an empty space between the tents and the rampart. This was done so that enemy arrows could not reach the sleeping soldiers. This space also allowed troops to quickly assemble to repel an attack. Order and discipline were essential to the army's survival. Each group of soldiers was responsible for the cleanliness of their specific area of land. This prevented the spread of disease and unpleasant odors in the camp. Perfect hygiene was a prerequisite for maintaining the health of the entire army. The Romans understood that good sleep was only possible in clean conditions. Engineers marked out the territory in advance using special measuring instruments. Even before the main forces arrived, the plan for the future camp was ready. Soldiers began digging trenches immediately upon arrival at the campsite. The work of setting up the sleeping quarters was as important as combat. Even if the legion stopped for only one night, the camp was built in its entirety. This iron rule was never broken for the sake of saving time or effort. The safety of a sleeping warrior was a priority for every centurion and general. Such systematicity made the Roman army invincible for many centuries. Inside the tents, the legionaries lay with their heads toward the exit so they could react quickly. Each soldier's shoes and equipment were laid out in strict order. No one was allowed to clutter the aisles with their personal belongings. Sleep discipline was part of the general military code of the Great Rome. In bad weather, small drainage ditches were dug around the tents. This helped keep the floor dry, even during tropical downpours. Soldiers knew hundreds of ways to improve their living conditions in the field. Knowledge of engineering was valued in the Legion as much as fencing skills. This camp layout is still studied in modern military academies. It is considered the gold standard for organizing temporary settlements for large groups of people. The Romans created a system that worked perfectly anywhere in the world. I discovered this by accident while studying ancient statutes. The Romans had a system of passwords. The legion's sleep was reliably guarded by 4 guard shifts throughout the night. The transfer of duty was signaled by the sound of a trumpet that echoed throughout the camp. The sound of the trumpet was the only signal that allowed soldiers to keep track of time without a sundial. Each such shift was called a vigil and lasted about 3 hours. Commanders specifically calculated the time so that no one would become overly fatigued. A strict schedule allowed the enormous camp to function as a single clock. Even in complete darkness, soldiers on guard duty were not allowed to sit down or lean on their spears. The punishment for sleeping on guard duty was extremely severe for any violator. Sleeping comrades completely entrusted their lives to those standing on the ramparts. This mutual responsibility created strong bonds within each combat unit. The sentry had to stand absolutely straight, demonstrating his readiness for immediate action. If the tribune found a sentry in a relaxed position, it was considered a disgrace for the entire centuria. The guilty party could be sentenced to severe corporal punishment or even death in front of the entire army. Collective responsibility forced soldiers to keep a close eye not only on the enemy, but also on each other. There were special officers who made regular rounds to check on the sentries. They collected special tablets that the sentries passed to each other in a chain. If a tablet was not returned on time, an immediate investigation into the dangerous incident began. This control system made the camp virtually impregnable to the enemy. These small boards were the main proof that the inspector had actually visited each post. If even one board was missing from headquarters in the morning, it meant that the entire security service had failed. The patrol officer was accompanied by several witnesses to rule out any possibility of deception or bribery. The mathematical precision of the checks deprived the legionnaires of any temptation to violate the charter. Soldiers could afford to sleep soundly thanks to this ironclad system. Even in complete darkness, the legion remained a unified and vigilant organism. The safety of those who slept was the highest priority for the entire complex command structure. The Romans understood that the fatigue of the guards could cost the lives of the entire army. While one part of the army rested, hundreds of eyes continuously scanned the horizon for threats. This allowed the main forces to fully recover after an exhausting day's march. A legionnaire's peaceful sleep was not a luxury, but a necessary part of preparing for tomorrow's battle. The command did everything possible to ensure that no unnecessary noise disturbed the rest of the weary soldiers. The changing of the guard took place quietly and without disturbing those who were sleeping. Each soldier knew his duty hours and prepared for them in advance. The sentries peered intently into the darkness, listening for every suspicious sound outside. Vigilance on duty was considered the highest manifestation of a soldier's duty and honor. Recruits were taught to distinguish the normal crackling of a branch from the cautious footsteps of an enemy scout. Soldiers trained their hearing for years to accurately determine the direction of any rustle. Night watch was considered an honorable but extremely responsible mission, one that could not be entrusted to just anyone. The silence in the camp was a sign of the high professionalism and discipline of each member of the defense. Passwords changed every night to prevent enemy spies from infiltrating. The word for passage was communicated only in person and under the strictest secrecy. This created an additional level of psychological protection for all sleeping warriors. The Romans were masters at organizing internal security during campaigns. Usually the password was chosen by the commander himself, and this word could be associated with the name of a god or a victory slogan. A note with the secret word was passed from commander to commander, down the chain of command to the very last private. Anyone who did not know the correct word was immediately detained or killed on the spot without further ado. This ruled out the possibility of the enemy being able to blend in with the crowd of legionnaires unnoticed. Lighting on the ramparts at night was usually minimal for secrecy. The sentries relied on their hearing and knowledge of the terrain around the camp. Any movement in the forest prompted an immediate response and investigation by the guards. The professionalism of the guards provided the legion with the peace it needed to recover its strength. Bright fires could blind the defenders themselves and make them easy targets for enemy archers. Therefore, the Romans preferred to remain in the shadows, preserving the element of surprise for the attackers. Darkness was the legion's ally as the soldiers knew the location of their fortifications down to the last centimeter. Experience allowed them to act in unison, even in conditions of virtually zero visibility. The officers of the guard were personally responsible for order in their assigned area. They personally checked the readiness of each shift to perform combat tasks. The night guard was an elite force, capable of being the first to meet any dangerous enemy. Thanks to them, the legionnaires could dream of their distant homes. If an emergency occurred at a post, the officer was answerable to the legate's court with his head. Such a high degree of responsibility forced middle-ranking commanders to be extremely attentive to detail. They checked not only the presence of soldiers, but also the condition of their weapons and armor before going out on the ramparts. A well-thought-out hierarchy made the security system virtually invulnerable to human error. How difficult do you think it was to remain vigilant without modern lighting? Roman legionaries never completely undressed before their night's rest. Their shoes, the famous caligae, were removed but placed in a strictly designated place. Caligae had an open design that allowed the warrior's feet to dry quickly. Soldiers used soft fabric wraps to protect their feet from the cold. The condition of the feet was essential for survival during endless military campaigns. Special attention was paid to their care before each evening roll call. Clean shoes allowed soldiers to fall asleep faster and recover better physically. The Romans knew that sore feet made the army slow and very vulnerable. Legionnaires often kept their personal bags of belongings under their heads. These served as makeshift pillows and protected valuables from possible theft. The bags contained spare belts and tools for repairing clothing. Having their belongings close by gave soldiers peace of mind while sleeping in a communal tent. Armor was usually neatly folded nearby so that it could be quickly put on. The Romans trained to arm themselves in complete darkness until their actions became completely automatic. Nighttime awakenings did not cause panic among the professional warriors of ancient Rome. Readiness for battle was a constant state for legionnaires, even in deep sleep. Caligae had sturdy soles reinforced with dozens of sharp iron nails. This provided excellent traction on any slippery surface during combat. Before going to sleep, soldiers checked to see if any nails had fallen out of their important footwear. Repairing caligae was a daily routine for every self-respecting warrior. The leather straps of the shoes had to be soft so as not to rub the skin. Soldiers greased them as carefully as they did their tents. Taking care of equipment was a guarantee that it would not fail in battle. A Roman soldier was, first and foremost, a master at caring for his inventory. During the cold season, fur or dry grass was placed inside the cliggy. This helped keep the toes warm during night frosts. Such simple tricks allowed the legion to operate even in harsh winter conditions. Footwear was an essential part of a professional soldier's life support system. If footwear was damaged during a march, it was repaired immediately at the rest stop. Each contubernum had a set of necessary needles and strong leather threads. The ability to repair one's belongings was valued in the army as much as military valor. Legionnaires were completely self-sufficient in matters of basic survival. In the morning, shoes were one of the first things to be put on, immediately after a short prayer. Soldiers checked the tightness of the laces so that their feet would not get tired during the march. Properly worn shoes were a guarantee that the legion would cover the planned distance. This is how each new day in the history of great conquest began. Roman caligae became the prototype for many types of later military footwear. Their design was recognized as ideal for long-term wear in the field. The Roman soldier's diet was simple but extremely nutritious. The main dish was thick wheat porridge, cooked over a low heat. The Romans avoided eating too much heavy food immediately before going to bed. They preferred complex carbohydrates, which provided long-lasting energy in the morning. Meat was eaten less often, usually in the form of salted lard or fresh game. An important element was pasca, a mixture of water and sour wine vinegar. This drink was excellent for quenching thirst and disinfecting water from local sources. Proper nutrition helped to avoid stomach ailments that disrupted the unit's sleep. Cooking was a collective process that strengthened social bonds within the group. Soldiers ate from a common pot, sitting around a warm campfire. This was the only time they could rest from the endless hardships of service. The tradition of communal meals helped relieve psychological tension before bedtime. Roman doctors knew that a well-fed soldier sleeps better and gets sick less often. After eating, all dishes were thoroughly washed to maintain the necessary hygiene. Cleanliness in the dining area was as strict as in the ranks. The Romans did not allow chaos, even in such minor everyday matters. Grain was issued to each unit in the form of whole unprocessed grains. The soldiers themselves ground it on hand mills before each new stop. Freshly ground flour ensured that bread or porridge would be tasty. This hard work was part of the daily routine of every legionnaire. Wild herbs or onions were often added to porridge to improve the taste. Soldiers knew which plants were healthy and gave them strength. The ability to find supplements to the diet in the forest was an important survival skill. Nature provided warriors with the vitamins they needed to fight fatigue and sleepiness. Salt was highly valued and given to soldiers as an important ration. It helped preserve food and restore the body's salt balance. Without salt, legionnaires quickly lost their stamina during long marches in the heat. Food was the foundation on which the entire power of Roman weaponry rested. During meals, loud shouting or disturbing the general order of the camp was prohibited. Soldiers had to rest and regain their strength in silence. Officers made sure that everyone received their rightful portion. Fairness in the distribution of food was the key to the loyalty of ordinary soldiers. After dinner, there was time for brief personal affairs before lights out. Some repaired their clothes, while others simply watched the dying embers of the fire. These moments of calm were invaluable to people living in a state of war. Food was the bridge that connected them to peaceful civilian life. The Roman system of supplying the army with provisions was considered the best in the ancient world. It allowed the legions to operate in the most remote and deserted corners of the planet. The Roman army had to sleep in a wide variety of difficult climatic zones. In hot climates, tents were pitched to catch the slightest breeze. On cold nights, additional bedding made of soft animal skins was used. The ability to adapt was a distinctive feature of a professional Roman legionnaire. Legionnaires understood that proper rest directly affected their combat effectiveness in the next battle. In the deserts of Africa, they tried to set up camp on high ground, where air movement was more intense. Officers made sure that the leather tent covers were stretched in a special way to create shade. Soldiers quickly got used to the fact that today their home could be in the sand, and tomorrow among the ice. In wooded areas, branches were actively used to create high platforms. This raised the sleeping soldiers above the damp and cold surface of the ground. The army constantly learned new ways to combat the climate from the local peoples. Such flexibility of thinking allowed Rome to hold on to a wide variety of territories around the world. Wooden platforms inside tents helped avoid direct contact with frozen ground or mud. Soldiers gathered pine branches and twigs to create a soft and warm layer under their bodies. Often, such methods were borrowed from Germanic or Gallic tribes, who had lived in dense forests for centuries. The Romans never considered it shameful to learn useful lessons from their opponents. In desert regions, the main problem was the heat during the day and the cold at night. Soldiers learned to keep their leather dwellings cool during the day. At night, they wrapped themselves in woolen cloaks to protect themselves from sudden temperature changes. Roman medicine closely monitored the health of soldiers in such conditions. During the day, it became unbearably stuffy inside the tents, so the edges of the leather were often rolled up for ventilation. Soldiers drank water with vinegar to better tolerate the scorching sun and avoid overheating. At night, the temperature in the desert could drop to almost zero, making sleep a real challenge. At such times, thick cloaks made of coarse wool were the only salvation from colds. Snow and blizzards required a special approach to strengthening the camp tents. Leather sheets were stretched tighter so that the snow would simply slide off under its own weight. Soldiers constantly cleaned the roofs of their temporary homes to prevent them from collapsing. Winter campaigns were the most severe test of the soldiers' discipline and endurance. Under the weight of wet snow, even the strongest supports could break in the middle of the night. Groups of legionnaires on duty patrolled the camp every hour and knocked the snow caps off the tops of the tents. Inside, they tried to maintain a minimum level of warmth using small charcoal braziers, if safety permitted. Discipline helped the legion survive where unorganized troops simply perished. In the foggy regions of Britain, the main problem was constant and bitter dampness. Woolen cloaks became saturated with moisture and were very difficult to dry. Soldiers built additional shelters over their fires to protect them from the rain. Resourcefulness helped them remain combat-ready even in the bleakest climate in Europe. The dampness led to joint diseases and constant discomfort among veterans. To keep warm, soldiers tried to spend more time around the communal campfires. The fire was the heart of the camp, so it was guarded with particular care in all weathers. Overcoming such difficulties together greatly united the legionnaires into a single team. Mountain treks required the ability to set up camp on uneven and rocky slopes. Soldiers leveled the ground for tents by dragging heavy stones by hand. Every centimeter of level ground was valued by the legionnaires as if it were pure gold. Setting up camp in the mountains was exhausting and dangerous work. Often, entire terraces had to be built out of stones and earth to keep the tents level. If the ground was sloped, the soldiers risked rolling downhill while they slept. After a long march along mountain trails, such hard work seemed like a real punishment to the soldiers. However, no one complained, understanding the importance of a safe place to rest at night. The weather often dictated its own terms, but the legion always found an adequate response. Natural disasters could not stop the Roman military machine from moving toward its goal. The soldiers believed that their discipline was stronger than any whims of hostile nature. This conviction helped them survive where others simply gave up. Roman soldiers considered themselves masters of any landscape their feet set foot on. Belief in the invincibility of the empire gave people the strength to endure any hardship and natural adversity. Commanders always led their troops from the front, setting an example of steadfastness in the face of the elements. It was this moral fortitude that allowed the legions to conquer and hold vast territories. The Romans left behind many records on how to deal with bad weather. This knowledge was passed down from generation to generation of professional military commanders of the empire. Military manuals of the time contained detailed instructions on choosing a place to camp. Commanders studied wind directions and soil characteristics before giving orders to set up tents. 1,000 years of experience in conquering nature became the foundation of the Roman army's greatness for centuries to come. Modern historians are still amazed at how efficiently the legionnaires' military life was organized. Sleep in war is not only rest, but also a complex process of adaptation. Legionnaires got used to sleeping to the monotonous sound of the footsteps of vigilant sentries. Silence in the camp was a sign of danger, while the noise of everyday life calmed the soldiers. Sleeping together in a confined space created a strong sense of shared security. Soldiers knew they were not alone, and this helped them cope with fear. Experienced veterans could fall asleep instantly, using any free minute of rest. Sleep discipline was instilled from the first days of service in the elite legion. It became part of the personality of a warrior accustomed to the harsh deprivations of a campaign. The Roman system did not allow individualism in matters of collective rest for soldiers. Personal needs were always subordinate to the interests of the entire combat unit as a whole. This deprived a person of the right to weakness, but gave them confidence in tomorrow. A legionnaire's sleep was short but extremely effective thanks to clear organization. An army that knows how to rest properly always has an advantage over its enemy. Rome proved this by creating the most perfect military machine of the ancient world. Even sleep was subject to the law and strict army regulations. The psychological resilience of the legionnaires was forged during these quiet night hours. Thoughts of home and family often visited soldiers before they fell asleep. Many kept small souvenirs or letters from their loved ones with them. These personal items helped them retain their humanity in the midst of endless bloody warfare. Sleep was a time when a warrior could return to his peaceful life for a moment. Comradeship in the contubernum was the strongest factor in psychological comfort for everyone. People who ate and slept together fought for each other to the end. The shared tent became a small world where everyone felt the support of a loyal friend. This unity made the Roman infantry virtually unbreakable in any battle. Commanders understood the importance of morale and tried not to exhaust their men unnecessarily. A fair schedule of duty and rest was the basis of trust in their officers. If the soldiers saw that they were being cared for, they served with double zeal. A good night's sleep was the best remedy for discontent brewing in the ranks. Nightmares did happen, but discipline helped the soldiers quickly recover. The Romans believed in omens and dreams, so they often discussed them in the morning. Belief in the protection of the gods provided additional support during the dark hours of the night. Religion was closely woven into the daily military life of every legionnaire. Even in his sleep, the soldier remained part of the great and powerful Roman Empire. His sleep was guarded by thousands of other professionals around the perimeter of the camp. This awareness gave him the strength to get up and move forward the next morning. The history of Rome is written not only in blood, but also in the calm breathing of the sleeping legions. Order in a warrior's mind began with order in his personal campaign tent. This philosophy has passed through the centuries and reached our modern days. We have learned how Roman soldiers turned their sleep into an effective tool for maintaining combat readiness. From leather tents and woolen cloaks to the strict geometry of the camp, every detail served a single purpose. The Romans understood that victory is forged not only with the sword, but also with quality rest. The engineering genius of Rome was as evident in everyday life as it was in the construction of great roads and majestic aqueducts. This knowledge was passed down from experienced centurions to young recruits, creating continuity in military culture. Thanks to this training, the empire was able to wage war on several fronts at once without fear of exhausting its people. Which detail of the legionnaires' daily life impressed you the most in this story? Suggest topics for our future videos in the comments and be sure to subscribe to the channel.